Participants and our distinguished guest today, Professor Narendra Badsheshi. Now I request my colleague in the Mechanical Engineering Department, Mr. Anand Kumar Mali Patil, to give a brief introduction about Sri Narendra Badsheshi. Over to Mr. Mali Patil.
Very good morning to all, and I wish to extend my hearty welcome to everyone. I am Anand Kumar S. Mali Patil, Assistant Professor from the Department of Mechanical Engineering. Feels pleasure to introduce Professor Narendra Badsheshi. To start with, Professor Narendra Badsheshi was born on 28, 1954. He has studied in NV school and completed his SSLC in 1968. He graduated from SB College, Kalburgi, and completed his graduation in 1972. He post-graduated in sociology from Karnataka University, Dharwad in 1974. He post-graduated English literature from Karnataka University, Dharwad in 1976. He had postgraduate diploma in industrial relations and personal management from Bharati Vidya Bhavan, Mumbai in 1983. He has pre-PhD in sociology from Gulbarga University, Gulbarga in 1985. His teaching experience includes as lecturer in sociology in National College, Gulbarga from 1974 to 1976. He worked as lecturer in sociology in MSI PU College, Gulbarga since 7/10/1977 to 38/2014. He worked as lecturer in human resource development at College of Management, Gulbarga since from 1985 to 2012. He worked as visiting faculty in entrepreneurship development and change management for MBA at VTU Regional Center, Kalburgi for 2 years. He worked as principal HKA Society College of Management for 2 years. He worked as principal MSI PU College, Gulbarga for 2012 to 2014. His social activities includes as NSS program officer for 18 years. He organized 4 divisional level NSS campus and 1 state level awareness camp on HIV through quiz, first of its kind in Karnataka, a central government sponsored scheme. He led NSS Karnataka team to National Integration Camp at Amritsar, Punjab in 2011 and constructed 55 individual household toilets for BPL beneficiaries, 3 community toilets in government schools in Nandur, Udnur, Tanda, Kurkota, Nandikur, Srinivas Saradgi. He organized a 10 days camp for 200 boys in Baswa Kalyan, Anubhava Mantapa towards preservation of ancient monuments. He was awarded twice as Best NSS Program Officer by Government of Karnataka in 2010 and 2011. His memorable moments includes translation for Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam's interaction with 500 high school Kannada medium students on science, vision, and character live on 25th December 2010 at Ramakrishna Vivekananda School at Tadategnur. He was associated with Ramakrishna Ashrama as member of Vivekananda Center of Human Excellence. His membership includes Syllabus Committee for Pre-University Education Board. He was member NSS Advisor Committee, Government of Karnataka. His present status includes visiting teaching faculty for 5 years law course in SSL Law College, Kalburgi. He is visiting teaching faculty in ESI Nursing College, HK's Nursing College. He is visiting teaching faculty in Police Training College, Naganalli. So, it is a chance to hear Professor Narendra Badsheshi in person is a valuable opportunity, and it is gratifying to note that Professor Badsheshi have taken time off his busy schedule to be with us. So the platform is yours, sir. Thank you.
All of you. In absentia, Dr. Gadge sir, who is heading this center, members of the teaching fraternity of this most prestigious center of excellence towards engineering education and technical education and management education, and my dear friends, I'm sure that you have embraced this teaching profession, or I call it as a career, by choice, not by chance. Remember, the decision making in one's life is based on these two components, whether you decide on chance or whether you decide on choice. And today's interaction or discussion in search of meaning to life is more, I don't say philosophical, it's more an abstract concept which everybody, not only today, but from time immemorial, they are trying to find an answer as to what is this life and why for we live. So, if at all we choose any occupation or a profession or so career by choice, I think we are nearer to finding an answer to our life. Supposing if it is by chance that I have joined this organization or joined this career of teaching, somewhere there is a huge gap. Now, to transform the chance into choice should be the motto. And supposing those who have joined by choice, they should see to it that they must not go back to the chance level. So, friend, it is from this background I will try to put in my certain personal experiences in finding the meaning to life. Now, many a times, right from thousands of years, this Homo sapien, when he became a social being, when he became a rational being, when he started living in a group, then he started thinking, applying his mind as to who he is, where he is destined to go. And with the passage of time, with the passage of culture, with the passage towards a civilization, this organic creature, man, women also for that matter, human society, they became more of super organic. Now, when I specifically use super organic, because anything beyond life is generally we call it as super organic. But the question comes, is there any life after the end of the life? If that were to be not to be believed, then the question of super organic does not arise. But somewhere, human mind, human civilization, human intellect, human reason, the quest to know the truth about life has made this human society to debate, to discuss, to introspect, and to find an answer for his questions. Now, sometimes it is decided or influenced by the religion, ethics, morality, science, philosophy, and the list goes on. But what exactly is life? If the topic itself is rather puzzling, in search of a meaning to life. Now, first of all, what is the meaning? Meaning means what is meant. What is the essence? Why for this life? And who has created this life? And where we are heading towards a particular destination. Now, if you draw a vertical line or maybe divide the word meaning, M-E-A-N, and erase ing for a second, then we come to know that mean means, sometimes we say he's a mean-minded man, sometimes we say he's a miserly man, sometimes we say he's a selfish man, sometimes he's poor in quality and appearance, sometimes he's vicious, and sometimes something which the society has not accepted. And if you take these meanings, synonymous meanings of mean, then I think probably the life has no meaning at all. But if you see this word in toto, meaning, then life has a particular meaning. So friends, it's from this point of view, how is this topic in search of meaning to life can, within a half an hour or 1 hour after that discussion, can improve our capacity? Can we build our capacity to be a better teacher, heading towards a teacher of excellence? Now, this we'll try to incorporate into our career. Now, many a times it is said that today, very out of wit and humor, or out of even what we can call it as a critical outlook, there is a statement. The standard of living has gone up. The standard of living has gone up, but the standard of life has declined. Now, living and life are two different dimensions. Now, living means to live. When I say I'm living, it means my body, my organs, the human constituents, organs, they are functioning. The moments one part of an organization or one part of this human body, we call it as an organic analogy. Organic analogy is a theory in social science where we compare every institution with a body, human body. As we have different organs which are connected and which are interdependent, so also a university and organization is also connected between different people, different individuals, different departments. So if you go on organic analogy, which part is more important and who is playing which part? So friends, from that point of view, this life has a biological meaning, a physiological meaning, or a meaning by brain and mind, or a meaning in terms of economics, wealth creation. So different dimensions for this word life. As it is said, I think you must have heard a story when you were right from your childhood days, that 5 blind boys, they hadn't seen elephant. Each one touched a portion of an elephant and did draw an inference that this is an elephant. And in the same way, a man with a spiritual background, a man with economics background, a man with political science background, a man with scientific temperament, everybody started looking to this word life from a different perspective. Now, how do you perceive is our perspective. So for example, perceiving is anything which you acquire by means of experience. Now back to this statement that standard of living has gone up, standard of life has declined. Now, why do we conclude with a statement that 99%, I don't say, but majority of the vox populi, they believe that the standard of life has declined? Now, when I say standard of life has declined, we have failed to identify, we have failed to find the meaning of life. Or if at all we have identified that meaning is not eternal, that meaning is not have been universally accepted. So non-acceptance of my principle by the larger section of the society may become a meaning to me, but that meaning may not be a meaning to all the society. So if we think and ponder over this life, and to find an answer, generally we say, there is a statement or a quotation by Shakespeare in a play. He says, life is a stage where all of us are actors. When the curtain raises, we start acting, and the curtain falls, the drama closes or the play closes. And this life between birth and death, this life between the curtain rising and the curtain coming down symbolizes what exactly his life is. When a play starts with an invocation or otherwise, we are playing a role play. We are enacting on a situation. So this role play, or this definition of situation, which has been scripted in a play, an actor does to perform on the stage. And in the same way, the society has scripted, the religion has scripted, the university has scripted, the constitution has scripted certain principles, certain mechanisms whereby we are to follow it. And if we don't follow it, it becomes a deviance. And if we follow it, we call it as a conformity. How far and how long are we performing, or how long we are following this? So if you ask that play, he is an actor. Any actor who comes on the stage, he acts. He may be playing the role of a king, but in principle, in reality, he may not be the king at all. Somebody may be playing the role of a beggar. but he may be a very rich guy. So we are playing different roles. And through this role play, through this definition of situation, we come to understand the realities of life, Now, at another example, somebody said, what is life? Is life for quest for pleasure? Is life quest to assess oneself? Or is life a quest to create a wealth? And the list goes on. But poorest of poor and richest of rich, both of them have failed to define what a satisfaction is. So it is very ambiguous statement as to what is the meaning of life. Or sometimes in this complex alternatives, to choose an answer that this is life, and this is the purpose for which I lead, it goes on varying. A classical singer may think that the purpose of life is to reach the excellence in his vocal capacity. An engineer like Sir M. Vishwesvaraya, he thinks that the purpose of life is to be the best of best and create an asset for the next generations to come. The meaning for life of a cardiovascular surgeon who operates every day about 2 to 3 heart surgeries, for him, efficiency, effectiveness, fine-tuning, and every time he does, there should not be any casualty or death. So this rise on his performance, he says that is life. And as a teacher, we also have a particular meaning to our life. My pedagogy, my authority on subject, my language, my body language, my connectivity with the students, over a period of time, it is going at a higher level, not just according to me. What I feel about myself is correct, but what the society feels, what my students feels, what my organization feels, what my university feels, if it is on the rise, I believe that I am heading towards a particular type of meaning which I am aspiring. Unfortunately, if it is there, not on the rise, then we say that meaning is there, but my meaning is not having any meaning to others. So as a teacher, we have a meaning. As a sculptor, they have a meaning. As an engineer, they have a meaning. So friends, to understand what is this meaning, why for we live, I just want to draw your attention towards one question which only the human society is trying to answer from time immemorial. Since you are all in teaching line, friends, a word which encompasses all other subjects with its tentacles like an octopus is the word philosophy. Now, if you go by etymology, philosophy, philo means love, sophia means knowledge. So anybody who loves knowledge, we call it as he is a philosopher. And a branch of philosophy is there, which is called as metaphysics. And this metaphysics is one branch which tries to ponder over and find an answer to certain questions, from the distant past. They are trying to find it. Maybe what is life, what is birth, what is death, or was there any life before this life, or will there be a life after this life, and for what purpose? If we say that God has created, then why for? So these questions, when we go on asking, what is truth, what is one man's food is another man's poison, what we call it as a sin and repentance and redemption, and in the same way we call papa paschita mukti, the existence of soul, the existence of life, all said and done, all these questions, it is only a human society, it tries to get an answer to these most puzzled questions. So I'm reminded of a book where I read, it is said, Sigmund Freud, a psychologist, has said, one who gave the concept of Oedipus complex and Electra complex, that is the hormonal secretions effect, and a person with one gender having an attraction towards others. Let us not go into detail about all those philosophies. Sigmund Freud, who gave a concept of quest for pleasure, he himself said life is not a quest for pleasure. Then secondly, it was Adler, yet another psychologist, who also said that life is not a quest for power. I repeat again, Freud said life is not a quest for pleasure, life is not quest for power according to Adler. Then what is life? He said that life is a quest to find a meaning, Now what is this meaning? Now if you go nearer to this, to find a meaning to one's life, it is a lifelong endeavor. It is not just like saying that somebody within a fraction of a second get an answer from a technology or from an encyclopedia or something like that, give me the meaning. So friends, to create this meaning, to design this meaning, to create a meaning by which you can reach to that destination is a Herculean task, is a lifelong process. And it's here that education, or for example, a scholarship in which certain area, it takes us to certain level. So Freud's concept of pleasure, he himself proposed, but he said life is not for that. Adler himself said that power, but he himself said that it is not for power. And sometimes we say it's inferiority complex also. A man with inferiority complex can overcome it. So Adler also. But to me, in general, life is for a purpose, for a reason, for certain value, for certain cause, for which we try to lead our life, we lead our life. So that's why it is said that life is not finding yourself, but life is creating yourself. Finding is something different, but creating is yourself is something we create. Creating yourself with creativity. How do you create? Your personality, your language, your competency. Everybody creates himself or herself, keeping in view of his area of specialization. So we should not find, we should create our life. And this creating of life is a lifelong journey. Whether it was Bismillah Khan, whether it was Bhimsen Joshi, whether it was Parveen Sultana, that the continuity in their life, they try to create themselves and leave an imprint for the next generation to follow. So friends, it is from that point of view, let us try to create ourselves through our teaching passion, shifting from ourselves from profession to careerist, shifting from pedagogy from old method to a new method, bringing creativity in one's own teaching, taking to a higher level. Secondly, it is said, life is a marathon without any finishing line. We don't know where it ends, but continuously. Just because we have a vision, just because we have a dream, just because we have a concept of our future, we think and we design. Otherwise, we will perish. And in the process of finding a meaning to your life, let us try to doubt our doubts, but let us not doubt our belief. We believe in certain things, and our belief in our belief, it should not be diluted. Doubt may be ambiguity otherwise, but let us commit ourselves to our belief. Secondly, today's generation, they belong to what we call it as a power shift, make knowledge haves and knowledge have nots. And this meaning to life, it is only the knowledge house can create for themselves, and the knowledge house can create for those people who belong to have nots also. So we design, we tailor certain life for other also. So it was said in a very word of wisdom, they say, they alone live who live for others, the rest are more dead than alive. That was a statement by Swami Vivekananda, who wrote to the Mysore Maharaja for the work which he was doing for the betterment of the humanity. Now the question is, what is this working for others? Those who live for themselves are almost living dead bodies, but those who live for others, they are supposed to be a real life. And can we have a meaning in our life if we are trying to live for others? Now in our life, when the process of finding a meaning, generally two things counts. Patience when we have nothing, and attitude when you have everything. So when we are still in the process of grooming, we should have a patience to identify the meaning. But when we have everything, our attitude determines our altitude. From this point of view, our attitudinal change is most important. And any life without a specific meaning, any life without a particular dream, without a particular destination becomes the most ordinary life. There is a book by name, The Gift of Imperfection. In this book, Gift of Imperfection, Brené Brown has said, in this world, an ordinary life has become synonymous with a meaningless life. I repeat, in this world, an ordinary life has become synonymous with a meaningless life. Now, life is life, whether it is with a meaning or it is without a meaning. But there are those people who lead a life for life's sake, that's one. Then who lead a life for certain cause. For example, it is said, one who lives for a cause gets applause. One who works to impress others may not, but one who wants to express an idea, he will be relished and he will be cherished. So ordinary life has become almost synonymous with the meaningless life. So let us try to make this life more meaningful in the sense that purpose. And how to make a meaning? The moment you stop or when you cease to contribute to our activity, to our area, to our field, then I believe that we begin to become almost dead. It is said, if you cease to contribute, or if the contribution is on the decline, if the contribution is on the negativity, if my contribution or enrichment of an organization or a students or the institution is not to be seen, then I think biologically, according to ECG, I am alive. But speaking intellectually, I am almost like dead. Now, how to do this? How to do this? So to find out a meaning, to have the meaning, always remember my contribution in my own area. Contributing to oneself. If I enrich myself, I can enrich others. If I know how to gauge myself, I can gauge others. If I know how to motivate myself, I can motivate others. So the contribution of the teaching faculty, if it is on the higher level, then ultimately we say it is the capacity building whereby I am heading towards that. Now, optimism, enthusiasm, all those things are but natural. But sometimes what happens to find a meaning, it doesn't, we don't get it automatically. Nothing happens on its own. One has to make the things to happen. Now, how to make the things to happen in our life? Determination, dedication, devotion, dream. Dream has to be transformed into reality. All these words are to be taken into consideration to say that I must become. I think 3 days back I said affirmative decision. Affirmative decision is a decision that we try to see to it that it happens. Now, to keep our learning in the way to move forward. Life has given plenty of opportunities. Search for a successful or meaningful life. So, friends, in this process of finding, we try to get usually the meaning on three levels. Now, for example, one is creating the work or doing a deed where we get an achievement, we say we are heading towards it. The second one is sometimes by experience something or competing with anybody and trying to show your competency. The third one is even in our suffering also, we try to get such sort of meaning. Now, one example where in our college, there was a guest who was to address the students. He was an ex-serviceman. When he entered the hall, in our district, city, Gulbarga, the temperature at that point of during summer was more than 40, 42. So everybody was using AC, ceiling fan, all those things. But suddenly that man, ex-serviceman, said, please close down, shut down all the fans. And for 10 minutes, he made the guests on the dais and all others to undergo the temperature or the heat. And then suddenly he asked a question. For 10 minutes, if you cannot tolerate this heat, how an army or Jawan tolerates extreme climate in the deserts of Rajasthan or sub-zero temperatures of Kashmir? So that is, they are leading a life through a sacrifice, through the suffering, through the subordination of the self for the betterment of the country. They are trying to find a meaning. An army officer, a police official, sometimes, he sacrifices his life for that. Just for the national tricolor flag, he lives away from the family. He lives in a circumstances, in a environment where nothing is easily available, but yet he tries. Now for him, the meaning for life is sacrifice, and he becomes a hero even after his death. So that's why, friends, always remember that there is life after death, or otherwise it's something different. But remember, recognize your life and tries to stop certain things which we glorify. I'm reminded by a quotation, a rose to the living is more important, holier than a wreath to the dead body. So as long as our life is, let us try to praise ourselves. Let us try to enrich ourselves. So with these three possibilities, I wish to draw your attention to what exactly in India. In India, it's a land of religions. Now, how is it that to find the meaning, the theology, the religion, the morality, the ethics, the philosophy, they have contributed to find a meaning to our life. So there is a connectivity with a disconnectivity in our system. Now it was said that India is the only country which has understood the world's religions in a better way, So some people, for some religious faith, there is some meaning. But there are certain meanings which are eternal, which are common to everybody. That's what we call the commonality amongst all the religions. So in India, the quality of life, the destination of life has been divided right from its ancient days on certain areas. Now we call it as Purushartha, we call it as Ashrama Vyavasthe, we call it as Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, Brahmacharya Ashrama, Grihastha Vanaprastha, Sannyasi. Now these 4 stages which we mentioned, there is an attachment with certain things which again leads to the another stage where is the detachment. Now Brahmacharya Ashrama is where acquisition of knowledge. Grihastha means to procreate, you continue your generation. Vanaprastha means detaching yourself from mundane and trying to go to the nature. And the last one is moksha. The soul trying to become ultimate with the ultimate, we call it as moksha. And somebody says it is salvation. In Christian theology, we say sin, repentance, and redemption is the principle of their life. In our Indian customs, we say papa, prayashchitta, mukti. So somewhere, there is a commonality amongst all the things. But for example, to highlight the purpose of, I wish to give one quotation of a social scientist, Kapadia. Now she says, the marriage in India, especially, is something distinct. Now she gives 3 objectives to the marriage as an institution in the meaning. Throughout the world, we have a system of marriages. Now she says in India, the marriage is an institution which defines 3 things. They are dharma, praja, and rati. Dharma means religious activities. Certain rituals, certain activities, a bachelor or a spinster cannot do it, cannot perform it. So a marriage as an institution, it has an aim towards what is called as a dharma or religious. The second one is, we call it as praja. Praja means to continue one's generation or one's genealogy, family to continue. Rati is a quest for pleasure because of the hormonal effect. The men and women, the opposite gender, opposite sexes attract with each other. In these 3 stages, the meaning of life for certain people who believe in certain ideology, the hormonal effect and its quest for sexual pleasure is given on the last priority. The utmost priority is given to dharma. So whether it could be any ritualistic ritual, it is the married couple or a couple, they are allowed. Now, the same meaning of marriage may not be there in another community, in another faith, but it does not mean that is wrong. In the process of identifying the meaning to life, one has to have a value neutrality. Now, value neutrality means respecting all other institutions, their objectives, and look to their objectives from their angle with an empathy, and not from our angle and saying that I am the only right or my culture is the only right. So anybody who has understood his culture, his institution better, can have a better perspective of other institutions, of other cultures. This is one. And secondly, we have a family, we have a religion, we have diversified. And fortunately in India, where it is not dogmatic even in religion or education, that's why alternatives are many. The process of finding meaning to life are many. Somebody said Shaiva, Vaishnava, Dvaita, Advaita, and even amongst certain, for example, Shia and Sunni, Protestant, Catholic, and even the industrial sectors, the 3 industrial sectors, all of them manufacture cement, but their motto, their style, their culture of functioning, organizational culture is something different. So dead end is same, but mechanism or functional aspect is not the same. And in our effort to find a meaning to our life, it is the culture that determines us. Now, what is this culture? It includes several things which decides our meaning to life. It starts with socialization, where the mother, the father, grandmother, family as one unit, it starts socializing you and trying to define that this is life, this is an objective, this is the purpose for which you have to live. maybe through epics, maybe through stories, maybe through folk literature, maybe through certain games, maybe through even leisure and recreation. And even when a grandmother is singing and playing, the dead end of that particular ends up with a message. So culture, religion, science, technology, theology, belief, organizational culture, all these put together, it tries to help me to find what is generally a meaning to life. And meaning to life, in Sanskrit we say Purushartha. Purusha does not mean only men. Purusha means life. The purpose of life is called Purushartha. So, if you just dissect culture, how is it that the process of finding a meaning to life is so complex and so complicated, so elastic? For some people, even including if you read a certain philosophy of Karl Marx or other things, we say man, the critics, they say man does not live for bread alone. So do we live for bread alone? Only for hunger, only for quest to procreate, but there is more beyond it. But this animalistic instinct going towards a super organic instinct has made us to have a life which is meaningful. Especially in India, in certain sects, we say, unless and until you have been blessed by a baby boy or a son, the life is incomplete. The purpose of life is incomplete. Now, why do we have a craving or a craze for the son? At the time of cremation or funeral, if my son alone has the right, the karta in a joint family has the right. And in the same way, if I am not blessed with that, I feel that my purpose of life is something incomplete. We are married, but if you are issueless, again there is a puzzle in your mind that what is this life? If a man is bachelor, not married, again the puzzle. If a lady is there who is not married, spinster, again the puzzle. So for different dimensions, we try to find out different meanings. So if you try to influence culture on the decision making, it makes us to, or it is a facilitator which tries to find a meaning. Now, there is a famous anthropologist by name E.B. Tyler. He has defined culture. He said that culture is a complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, custom, habits, moral, and any other capabilities of an individual as a member of society. I repeat again, culture is that complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, custom, habits, morals, plus some dots, and any other capabilities of an individual as a society. Now, since this capacity building is there, capabilities also goes on changing. With the passage of time, the capabilities change. When the capabilities change, man shifts towards new discovery, new invention, new initiative. All this put together becomes what is culture. And further, if you dissect culture, there are two components. One is material culture, another one is non-material culture. Now, material culture is that culture which exists in concrete form. For example, a necklace, an earring, a phone, a compass box, a dining table, a tea set, a bottle, a glass. But there are another components of culture which is abstract, which we call it as a non-material culture. And it is these non-material culture components, they define, they facilitate, they determine, and they help us to find a meaning to our life. They are belief, superstition, morality, ethics, values. Values cannot be taught. Values have to be demonstrated. And for example, we stand by certain values. Honesty is the best policy. That's one thing right from our childhood days. They say, Satyameva Jayate, truth alone triumphs, from Mundak Upanishad. Now, this is one belief which tries to make us to think within a compartment as to find a meaning to our life. Why only say Satyameva Jayate, truth alone triumphs? It does not mean other countries, we have that in our constitution, we have an emblem. It does not mean that they don't believe in truth. They also believe in truth. But not that over importance, the life itself for Indians is to find a truth. And that truth alone becomes victorious in the long run. I wish to draw one example which I have personally experienced. There was a Kannada film. Those of you who are from Karnataka, I think they must have seen. There was a film wherein the story goes on, the hero was very innocent, very honest, but sometimes a murder case is booked on him and he will be given a judgment that he should be held, he should be hanged till death. So whole story runs for 3 hours, 3 hours. And at the end of the film, the heroine tries to get evidences, tries to get witnesses, and when she was to bring to the prison, by the time will be over, that particular hangman hangs it and the hero is hanged. Now, when the hero was hanged, there was a lot of protest in Old Mysore area as to how is it that our hero, who is an icon, who is next only to God, because in film world, we believe certain personalities are godmen, which I don't want to name them. And they protested, and the last scene was again rescheduled, reshot. And the same thing, whenever you want to go and present the truth, hurdles of all those things. And lastly, when I'm about to pull the hangman, the heroine goes and shows the document, say, Nillisi, stop this. Now my question at that point of time, why did they change the last scene? They changed the last scene because the vox populi, or the voice of the people, they don't tolerate a certain faith in which we believe. You can hurt me, you can shoot me, you can stab me. Always remember, a blow with a word strikes deeper than that of a sword. I repeat again, a blow with a word strikes deeper than that of a sword. So especially as a teacher, our language, our vocabulary, our body language, try never to hurt anybody, but encourage them. Now, why did we say that film shot was lost? If you see any film, for 2 hours 25 minutes, out of 2 hours 45 minutes, it is the villain, negativity, mischievous character, sadist, criminal, he will be victorious. But at the fag end of time, within 2 minutes, the film comes to end with an optimism. Because it is not that one fine morning it has been taught. It is there in the blood, it is there in our DNA, it is there in our values. So we say, Satyameva Jayate. That means truth alone triumphs. Now, even if you go towards science, the word science is derived from a Latin word synaceus. Now, synaceus also means find truth. So, finding truth, if it is the destination of a science, finding truth is a value by which every human being should live. I think that is what is called as a life, going nearer to truth. Now, truth, yesterday I was talking about this with a professor of mine. He said, no, truth is very simple, very simple, very simple. It remains simple as long as you never explain it to anybody. The moment you start explaining truth to others, it becomes complex. More you explain, more complex, because acceptance levels, the frequency should be on the same level. If it is not there, then ultimately we don't want. So friends, whether it is truth alone triumphs or Satyameva Jayate, it was Swami Vivekananda who said, in the process of trying to find a meaning, never get disheartened. Obstacles are opportunities. Obstacles are opportunities. And the living examples during this COVID-19, this quarantine or lockdown, though there are several hardships, but it has become an opportunity for all of us, including the teachers and the students and the management and the helm of the highest, right from the vice chancellor down to the registrar, that we are shifting towards a new technology, a new pedagogy. So friends, from that point of view, continuity. And those people, all of us, we are, if we want to try to have a meaning to our life, we say, arise, awake, and stop not till goal is achieved. Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is achieved. What is that goal? If somebody sets a goal for me, even if I arise, even if I am awake, even if I am continuously working, I may not reach. I cannot fit in some other's framework. I have to fit in my own framework. So that goal setting has to be more important. Before reaching the goal setting is more important in trying to find a meaning to one's life. What is that goal which you want to set? Is it within my parameters? Is it within my competency? Is it within my intellectual capacity? Or if I want to reach this, how best I can improve upon myself? So that also is more important. Another important personality which I just want to give is who influences. I said culture, non-material culture. I just ask all of you, this non-material culture makes us to believe, accept, act, and believe with a, if not a dogma, that I must live. The best example is if you take our diet, As a person belonging to one cult, I am non-vegetarian and vegetarian. As a person, some other person belonging to some other cult, he is also vegetarian and non-vegetarian. But I don't eat certain things which other man eats. Though both are non-vegetarian, we don't eat certain things forbidden. And that's why in the process of finding a meaning to one life, it is Sigmund Freud's philosophy, Sigmund Freud's principle of id, ego, superego plays a dominant role, and that is a part of non-material culture. Id is a desire, an ordinary desire, that hunger, subsistence, biological desire, they are all common. But they are all momentary. But how do you fulfill it? How do you fulfill it? Then there is a ego. Id is a physiological or an organic instinct. Ego is a framework where under these circumstances only you have to follow. Where sometimes, you should not eat this, you cannot marry this, you have to follow this, there should not be any shortcut. So some framework comes. It is a desire. Ego is a framework where you will not be allowed to go out of that framework. Examination is examination, but what is malpractice case? It is that thing which you should not cross it, and if you cross it, is punishable. Now the third one becomes a superego. Superego is a morality-based principle belief where it tries to make us not to venture into this endeavor adventure. So Sigmund Freud says, in order to find a meaning, id, ego, superego are the components or the factors which tries to facilitate us. And it is here in finding a meaning to one's life, psychology as a behavioral science has given utmost importance to in this process. Now the moment we say meaning comes from our thinking comes from our thought comes from the mind. Mind is a functional component of a brain. Mind is abstract, but we believe in it. So the functional aspect of a brain, it takes us to a thought. Now the way you think, so we become. Now the way we are made to think through autogenic training, last time I told you that we are heading towards a new thing. And if we are not heading towards that, I think we may be moving, but we may not be moving in the right direction. So friends, whether it is organizational culture, so far what we have discussed in the process to find a meaning to one's life, it is a broader level. But if we come down, it is an organizational culture. Remember this most important organizational culture. For example, ACC Cements has its own culture. Rajeshri Cements has its own culture. If there is a plant by public sector undertaking, Cement Corporation of India, I think it has its own culture. HDFC Bank has its own culture. ICICI Bank has its own culture. VTU has its own culture. An autonomous institution, engineering, has its own culture. An institution affiliated to VTU has its own culture. IIT and IIM, they have their own culture. Now, if I'm a part of that organization, this organizational culture, it facilitates us, it motivates us, it inspires us to find a meaning to one's life. So culture, one thing, and secondly, organizational culture. And it is this organizational culture, it has to be assimilated in our personality so that we must think in the larger interest of that organization. So there are quite certain number of organizations which tries to live for a cause. Now, in the process of all these things, to come back to one stage so far, what is life? And then life from the stage, is it a life and death, biological, or is it just religious? And today we are giving more a spiritual dimension to the meaning of life. We are very fortunate that with the advent of science and technology, with the growth of civilization, the whole world has become a small living planet where we are living together. And in this process of togetherness, there is nearness. And this nearness, there is more of spirituality. And all said and done, who are those people, what are those institutions which helps us to find a meaning? Am I so competent that I can define a meaning for my life? I need a teacher to complete my MBA or MC or MTech. And a teacher is a guiding force even in my own self. At 12 noon, I don't have a shadow. When I myself don't have a shadow, my shadow will not accompany me. Nobody accompanies me. All other institutions, all other individuals, they are only facilitators. And take the help of those facilitators and tries to move it. And who are those people? Who are those institutions? Can we have, or shall we have, some of what we call it as examples who can be considered as a role model to find a meaning to one's life? And it's here that some factors, and I have condensed it, not all the factors. Sometimes what happens in the process of finding a meaning, the personalities influence us a lot. Work out as a hypnotic influence of a personality or charismatic influence of some personalities of an individual. They make us to find a meaning, and that we call it as indoctrination of an ideology or a philosophy. Then literature may influence me, or to the extent my leader may influence me, my team leader may influence us, corporate leader may influence you, corporate culture will make you to find a meaning. All said and done, all of us, we have the meanings, which is not one-sided or unilateral, it is multilateral. The moment I am a part of VT University, in this VT center, I am an employee teaching. The moment I go back to my family, I become a father, I become a husband. The moment I go and wait in a queue to franchise my voting right, I become a citizen of this country. The moment I go to a bank, there is a transaction. So man has different meanings in a different situations. But what exactly meaning? Is it earning? It is the bank balance? Or is it the progeny? Or is it my faith? Then what is this meaning? The meaning of one's life is more of humane. The meaning of life is more of care and concern to the needy. The meaning of life is how best love our students. We care our students not with sympathy but empathy. How best we can enrich their scholarship. So economic, social, spiritual, religious, all those put together, we have different multiple meanings. But which meaning ultimately life has? It is said, they alone live who live for others. Just now I said, there are some people, they are alive, but they are more dead than the dead bodies. But there are some people, those who are not with us, but they are perennially present. What made them to be perennial? What made them to be permanent on this earth? What made them, the entire globe or planet tries to follow them, assimilate him. So here, friends, the people with whom we live, the ideology with which we live, the institutions with which we work, the literature with which we are accustomed, the students with which we are accustomed, all these put together makes us to define, to create a path, to create a roadmap to our life. Life will not end by a certain age of retirement superannuation. There are people who, even after retirement also, they have become a source of strength to many people. In Gulbarga only, we have a very great physician. I can take his name without his permission, Dr. P.S. Shankar. He is the he's director now of one great hospital. He is nearly 80 plus, but even now he attends to hospitals, he attends on the phone, he goes to the hospital. And there was an instance when cardiothoracic surgeon, very famous from Bangalore, had come. He was hardly 30, 31. And then in his felicitation program, he said, the youngest man with a purposeful life in this hall, auditorium of 500, there is one man, young by heart, is this doctor who at the age of 80, who is more active. So what does it mean? It means active, energetic, believing in synergy, initiation, always trying to live for a cause. Now in psychology, in Maslow's theory, we say self-actualization. Actualizing oneself to a stage is a level where you can find. But another psychologist has said, self-actualization is a side effect of self-transcendence. This transcendence means to go beyond. In the process of life, you forget about yourself, you erase yourself, and you will be a part of others' happiness, others' enrichment, so that you become more popular, more acceptable. And such people, they have what's called as a meaning to their life. For example, a teacher sacrificing something for the students. An army Jawan sacrificing not something, We say sacrificing something, but something was everything for him, sacrificing personal comfort, family comfort, and even after marriage, about 3 months, the man who has gone will come back with a tricolor flag being covered. So remember, living for oneself is only animalistic instinct. But living for others is a civilization, is a culture. Metaphysically, we say that is a real life. And is it possible for all of us? So it is from this context, I just want to give few examples where they may help us to define our life or find a meaning to our life. Without name and organization, it had a special place to have the youngest youth population who were ready to accept death, and they were categorized as a suicidal squad. We call them as human bomb. Now, it's really heartening or disheartening to say, how is it that even we cannot say that level of motivation? Why is it that, and how is it that that young boy, he's yet to see the life, but he is ready to end up his life, that working for a cause, working for a meaning. Now the question is whether that meaning, whether that cause is universally acceptable. Is it nearer to universal truth? Is it nearer to universal humanness? Now it's a simple reason. Why? Because ideology or some commitment, some conviction. That's why the process of life is so complex because there are several ways. And which way you select is more important. And do you select it because of the influence of certain people which they deviate you, or influence of some people who want to bring it on the conformity level? So it is with this background, I have not gone through the much of in detail, but only one thing is life meaning means it is not just self-actualization of Maslow. It is beyond that. That means transcend yourself and feel yourself in the presence of in other personalities and other personalities. And that we call it as life has been living, or we are living for a cause. What is that cause? Cause itself is the meaning of life. Cause itself is the purpose of life. Cause itself is the dream of life. And this cause determines, makes us life, make our life something sublime. If the cause is not for a noble cause, I think it is. I may be happy, but I'm not acceptable. Fortunately, in this modern world especially, there are certain organizations or spiritual institutions which are trying to help us to find an answer to this purpose of life. I wish to give an example of Art of Living Foundation of Sri Ravi Shankar, or Isha Foundation of Jaggi Vasudev, or ISKCON, or for their heartfulness, or for that matter Ramakrishna Ashram, or Arya Samaja, Brahma Samaja, or even Baha'is faith. The spiritual side of humanity has made us to think of a better life. Now these are the institutions. They are helping us in certain organic or super organic ways where we can try to find a meaning. The greatest of great personalities have been a source of inspiration to find a meaning. Read somebody's autobiography, we can define our life's meaning. Read a biography written by somebody on a great personality, that may help us to have a meaning. So friends, if we take all the examples, it becomes a lengthy, but only a few examples which I want to give to you. Now, one example which is most simplest and everybody is Mahatma Gandhi. When he was asked to say, what is your message? The only simplest message said, my life is my message. And my life is my message. That message itself is the meaning of what life is to Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. And one incident made Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi a great man. So incidents, opportunities, accidents, certain things which untoward incidents happen, they are mostly responsible as a turning point or a milestone towards a better life. Gandhi. So Gandhi, even now, Mahatma Gandhi, we call it as a father of the nation, and we call him as, because he is not only a source of inspiration to India, but to the entire globe. President of America had come to India in the Parliament House, he named only three personalities of India. One was Mahatma Gandhi, one was Dr. Ambedkar, and one was Swami Vivekananda. What made him to refer these? Because these three personalities have created a place for themselves. These three personalities' life was a meaning to them, but their life is more a meaning to all of us, all of us. Anna Hazare, to fight against corruption, thousands of young, old, retired, they followed him. And there was a meaning to his life because let us try to reform. He from place to place, generating funds, charity, and he has developed an institution. Today, whenever we go to Banaras Hindu University, they say, oh, it is a university being founded by Madan Mohan Malaviya. If anybody is from Karnataka, I think when you go to Karnataka University campus, Dharwad, where Wrangler D.C. Paute, a greatest of great person who built this institution, there is a statue. Why not a statue of another Tom, Dick, and Harry in the university campus? Because it is he who built that institution. Ashutosh Mukherjee, who was founder in institutionalizing Calcutta University. Jefferson, as has been said, that he was a founder of Virginia University. Sir M. Vishwesvaraya, for his simplicity, for his discipline, for his intellectual caliber, for his technical education, not only in Karnataka, throughout India, throughout globe, he was called as a strict, disciplined man. There is an incident in his life which I read when once Gandhiji was there and Sir M. Vishwesvaraya went to see him in person. But when he went, everybody was sitting on the floor. But when Gandhi saw Vishwesvaraya, he requested not to sit on the floor. He was provided with a separate chair to sit on this chair because his dress, his suit, his turban. Hardly we see Sir M. Vishwesvaraya without a turban. Now, why we consider his birthday as an engineer's day in India or in Karnataka, especially because, why? The reason because his life, his quest for meaning in life, gentlemanliness, honesty, integrity, accountability, transparency are the principles in his life which he defined in his life. Whenever he used to go on a tour, official tour, whenever he used to calculate and write official diary, he used to write with the official, the government's expenditure, exchequer, a candle or a lamp. When he used to write a personal diary, he used to switch off that and use his own candle. And such were the greatest of great personalities who were instrumental. Ratan Tata is of the modern India. He is the one who is trying his level best to find out a meaning to his life. There are many, many industrialists, but the social cause, the social care and concern, I think they have created a place for themselves, not because of the industry, not because of the culture, but because of the meaning of their life. Tatas, their culture, their corporate for which they live. Narayan Murthy of Infosys, or rather Sudha Murthy of Infosys, they have tried to create a life for themselves by which they have created a meaning not just for them, that to the entire world. It is said that one man army. Mahatma Gandhiji was one man army. Sometimes when we miss one individual, the whole society gets depopulated. And such are the great people who have defined, who have tried to find a purpose for that particular life. Why an ordinary man today, he has been recognized throughout the world. Could be Azim Premji sir and Wipro. All of them, for example, the system, the computer distribution, especially education, the quality of education at the primary school level, Wipro is doing marvelous thing whereby the cause of that organization is being explained. And that is the meaning of their life. Tata's care and concern for the depressed, oppressed, and that is one thing. I was given to understand, but it's I don't believe that it's authentic. When Ratan Tata had come to one city on an official visit, when he came out of the airport, the organizers or the host had brought Mercedes-Benz to receive him. Now, when he came out, he saw one Tata Indica a taxi in the taxi stand. He said, I don't want to sit in this Mercedes Benz. I will try to go to that Tata Indica taxi. And he went to that taxi and asked that cab driver to sit next to him on the driver's seat. He drove. So one act of sitting in a company's car, which he had manufactured, sent a message to the driver that he started propagating or projecting, now let us go in for Tatas. Even Tata Sumo brand, which yesterday for 2 to 3 days, it is almost very popular in social networking. Tata Sumo is not something, a Japanese nomenclature. There was one Sumankar, I think is a Maharashtrian name. And exactly that Tatas during the lunch hours, they used to sit for the lunch, all the executives. And this one, Sumanath, he used to go separately during that lunch time to a place. And after the lunch, he used to come back. Some people, out of grapevine communication, not knowing the authenticity of that, he said, oh, this man every day goes out, and the distributor of this company, our company, they are offering free lunch at a 5-star hotel. And one fine day, they want to see every day why he's not taking dinner with us. Lunch. So somebody followed him. And during that particular hour, he used to go on about 5-10 kilometers away on the national highway. And he used to sit in a dhaba, order his food. And he used to transact and talk to the truck drivers who were driving his company's lorries. And he used to have a chat with them and try to understand the feedback. What is the machine? What is the brake? Why the oil is made? Efficiency, fuel efficiency. And those grievances, those problems of the drivers, he used to collect and implement it at the level. And that's the reason why his name and surname, as the greatest gift of that corporate, has been named as Tata Sumo to that individual. Now, that gentleman did not live for himself, though he lived for himself, trying to improvise upon himself. In his improvement, the company's improvement was there. And that is a meaning to a particular man who is working in an organization. So friends, it is with these personalities we can say that to find a meaning to one's life is your choice, and this choice has to be chosen by choice. And if you don't choose it by choice, I think tomorrow will be it will be too late. So let us try to decide that what is this life? Life means not the end with the death. Initially, we used to say that the heart fails. We used to say that he's dead. But today, even if the heart is functioning, through artificial support, he's kept alive. But today, if the brain is dead, we die. There are some people who are very, very creative and innovative towards their own life. I just now said that a rose to the living is more valuable than a wreath to the dead body. And there are some people, in order to find a meaning to their life after the death, they have written in their will, don't glorify my body, leave my body, donate my body, give my body to the anatomy department of a medical college where the students can learn even in my dead body. So that is a level of highest spiritual quest, that where even your dead body can be of utility for the medicine students to acquisition of knowledge. And there are some people who will pledge their corneas that after my death, please remove my 2 corneas and implant it to those people who are blind by birth. The greatest of great people, they have pledged those corneas. But the people who have been the ophthalmologists who have planted those corneas, and they have not regained that eyesight, their names are not disclosed. The reason being, if a great man's cornea is being transplanted to a man who is in a slum, most ordinary man, he may be worshipped. So this cornea. And I have an example, a very typical example, which I must confess that how great are our present day generation great people. I have a friend of mine who is highly diabetic, whose kidneys have been both failed. He was trying his level best to find transplantation kidney donors. They tried and tried and tried, but could not. And at last he was in dialysis. So then one call from Columbia Asia Hospital came, and he said, we have a donor for you. We have a donor for you. But one thing is, in turn, we too want a particular donor. And he searched and searched, nobody came forward. And then his wife, the lecturer's wife, she came forward that I am ready to donate one kidney to my husband. Let us see if it match. There was a mismatch. So he said, but fortunately, his wife's kidney was matched with the man, a relative of the donor. So there was an exchange, give and take. The wife of the lecturer donated one kidney, and the relative, they donated one kidney. And there was a puzzle because of the mean-mindedness. That's why I started in the initial thing, mean. So one very logical question was asked to those surgeons. Sir, today you are taking our kidney, our relative's kidney, and transplanting it. When once the surgery is over, what is the guarantee that the beneficiary's wife will give her kidney? So it was simple, logical, and irrational, very rational only. Then it was thought, oh yeah, there is an iota of truth in it. So all the surgeons got together and they came to one conclusion. No, we will do simultaneously. We will do simultaneously. 4 patients were etherized, and then suddenly said 2 kidneys were removed and they were transplanted at the same time. My simple question is, I appreciate and adore that lady. Both of them are very happy. The husband is retired principal, wife is still working as a lecturer. I don't want to name them. But that is an amount of sacrifice which she has sacrificed. There was no guarantee that she will be alive. But she says proudly, sir, I'm perfectly all right. Now that is the purpose for which we live. The wife lived not because to save her husband. In the process of donating a kidney to somebody who can help us, like a chain reaction, she has set an example that how ordinary you may be, but you can think of being an extraordinary man or woman. So let us not do great things. Let us do small things in a great way so that we can. Blood donation is one thing where you can be recognized. Yet another example, I wish to say that modern generation, they are men of wisdom. There was a couple, these examples, because examples they are more than doctrine. Examples will help us to define what is life. There was a couple in Secunderabad. Both of them were working in State Bank of India. They were blessed with a daughter, only one daughter. After that, they had stopped. No, for us, daughter or son doesn't make any difference. Daughter is more than my son. Let us try to groom her to such an high level. On one day, when she was about 5th or 6th standard, she was crossing the road on the Bank Street, and suddenly one government city bus hit her. So there was an accident, profuse accident, severe accident. She was taken to the hospital, and she was almost went into coma, multiple fractures, all those things. And every day they started spending amount so much. And after 15 days, I believe, the doctor said, sir, your daughter is clinically dead. Your daughter is clinically dead. Now nothing we can do. Then what to do? If you detach that patient with the facilities, she will breathe her last. As long as there is an attachment with the machinery, she is alive. A detachment with the technology, she will be no more. Then the couple said, sir, wait for one more day till tomorrow morning. We will come and decide. And those couple, they go to a star hotel in Secunderabad, Hyderabad, or a candlelight dinner. They debate. With all our wealth, with all God's grace, we had only one daughter. We had designed that our life, meaning of life is only one daughter. We never tried for second. I think somewhere we have gone wrong. Man proposes, God disposes. If anything goes wrong, we say, oh God, help us. We always, at times of crisis, we say, oh God, please help me. Be on my side. Be on my side. At the time of examination, at the time of viva, at the time, we pray and pray. Almost entire course of gods and goddesses, we pray. But have we ever thought? It was a saint, a monk from Ramakrishna Math, he told me, why are you praying? God, oh God, be on my side. Be on my side. Be on my side at this time of crisis. Why don't you think that I'm on God's side. I'm on God's side, and I don't need God because I'm already there on the God side. Because if you are there on him, his blessings are always there. So wherever there is an inferiority, wherever there is an imperfection, wherever there is an incompleteness, wherever there is an ambiguity and a confusion in finding a new meaning, we depend much upon our more others. So they said, and they came to one conclusion. I think we will decide. Let her be detached from all the machines. So next day morning they went and told the hospital authorities, sir, enough is enough. We cannot spend further anything. So detach, sir. But before that, this is the crux of the story. But before that, both of them said, her two corneas, her two kidneys, any part in her body which is of utility and which can be used to give a life to somebody who is craving for life, who is living in a life which is a living death. So one hospital came forward that we will take care of your daughter's body and remove all those organs, and we will give it to some persons. The surgery was done, two kidneys, two corneas were removed, and some other organs. Remember, even a skin is being taken out and grafted on the burnt cases. Even a dead body has a purpose or a meaning to its life. So on every anniversary of their daughter's death anniversary, they say, till yesterday we had one daughter, but we are the parents of 6 persons. Now that is a meaningful life. So there are people like this. So it is with this background, to find a meaning to one's life, maybe we are trying to spiritualize it, but what is it that we can do? Now, in another 5 to 10 minutes, I wish to draw your attention. What exactly is the meaning to the teaching faculty? How? What is meaning? Life meaning is one thing, but our life is designed and recognized. People recognize us because we are teachers. There are some people who are statesmen. For them, they have been recognized as a leader. But for us teachers, if we are more creative, if we are more study-centered, if we are more academically towards a better position, I think we can be finding a new meaning to our life. I just want to give some 2 to 3 concepts whereby you can. I think these statements over a period of time during my teaching, how is it that I have seen the best of best teachers, what they experimented, and how one can experiment on himself or oneself and try to come to some influence. And intellectually influencing is the purpose of our life. As a teacher, my life's meaning is intellectually we must influence on the next generation. We are creating the next generation of students. How to do it? Now, I will just read out few one, and if you like those things, I think you can ponder over it. Preparation as teacher calls for defining one's philosophy. My lecture in my class should reflect my philosophy. And what is that philosophy? My attitude, my values for which I am working. I repeat again, preparation as teacher calls for defining one's philosophy. Make classroom a space for live interaction with the students. Now, before the class, I spend time and energy on a blank paper constantly asking myself, can these ideas be simplified further? Simplified concepts are more communicative. Repetition of basic concept is the heart of classroom teaching. Empathize with students while simultaneously leading them to think beyond, to think out of the box. There is no replacement for a live teacher in the overall growth of a student. Seemingly insignificant features of body language contribute substantially to making of a successful teacher. Now, the body language is a value addition to your performance. The body language adds a meaning to not only to your life, but to your career. A teacher should be able to simplify complex subject matter so that the weakest student in the class is able to understand. Try to interact with the students as they are, not as you wish them to be. Look to the students as they are. If the things do not seem going right, ask yourself, are you teaching from your heart? Somewhere, if there is a gap between the teacher and the student, it is not that the students will give any answer to you, but you will realize yourself that it is not coming from the heart. One thing is most important in the process of finding a meaning to my life or your life, everybody's life as a teacher is, all of us, we are not perfectionist or perfect. Perfection for me is an illusion, but whole of our life should be an endeavor to go nearer to that perfection level. Nobody, not even the best teacher, knows everything. So one must learn as one teacher, one teacher, one teacher. A continuous student is supposed to be a real teacher, real teacher. Admit your mistake without any loss of face and correct it. I repeat again, admit your mistake without any loss of face and correct it. Encourage a student who is enthusiastic and help one who has a problem. What a teacher is more important than what he teaches. I repeat again, what a teacher is more important than what a teacher teaches teachers. This is the principle where what I am. There is one more statement, a side passing remark. Without the personal life of a teacher, there is no education. They said, without the personal life of a teacher, there is no education. What is this personal life? Because always remember, the society, if any Tom, Dick and Harry from other walk of life, if he commits certain things which society doesn't allow, they tolerate it. But if we as teachers, we do certain things, then we are almost like idealists. So they will say, oh, look here, here is my teacher, he's involved in such and such a thing. But till yesterday, when we were students, we had a professor who used to have a smoking, I don't say habit, but it was his style. Till he comes to the class, he used to come and enter the classes. But his lecturing, his authority, his vocabulary was to such an highest extent, every student in the university wanted to be like that teacher. Remember, for 2 years, about 100 to more than 200 students in that particular department, nobody tried to emulate or assimilate or copy him to smoke a cigarette. Though smoking cigarette was a, I don't say minus point, which people did not recognize, but that was one thing where he was recognized. So what a teacher is more important. Without the personal life of a teacher, there is no education, there is no education. How do you teach? How I teach, you teach, or anybody teaches. It is often said that a teacher teaches as he is taught. A teacher teaches. I am not teaching properly. It is not properly, but I have failed in my we should draw. When I was translating Dr. Kalam sir's interaction with the student on 25th December 2010, he was lecturing in English, interacting with the students, and the students where his questions used to be translated into their mother tongue Kannada, and the answer of the students Kannada has to be translated to English. In this process, he was very bit happy to have a Kannada medium 500 students of 7th standard from government schools. And at the end, he just asked me when I was translating, everything was over. Where are you from? What's your name? From which university you have passed? After these 3 questions, then he asked me, name some teachers who have taught you at PG level in university. And then I said, as a reflex action, I told my chairman, head of the department's name immediately. Then he asked me, was he the only teacher who taught you, or were there other teachers? Then I said, there were other teachers also, sir, 5 to 6. Then why did you choose only one name? Why not others? You could have said so and so, so and so. Then I suddenly said, sir, he influenced me, and if at all I want to be anything in my life as a teacher, I will try my level best to be at least 10% of my teacher who has taught me. If I can assimilate and accommodate in my personality, I think that's my life. Then he asked me, what is his name? I told his name. Why is it that he was famous? Then I said, sir, he was the second Indian to get PhD from Harvard in particular science like social anthropology. Then who was the first? Then I said the first Indian was his teacher, who was Dr. Majumdar. And then he suddenly said, oh, you know, a university is not recognized by the structure. A university is not recognized by the classroom or the ambience. A university is recognized by an intellectual exercise or an interaction which takes place between the teacher and the students, pupils or disciples. That is more important. You are great, not because you are great. Your greatness has to be given to your teachers. So friends, to find a meaning to my life as a teacher, I must create, not just imitate. I think many of you may be remembering one name, Bhimsen Joshi in classical music. He had a very ardent student. When he was singing, in principle, he was imitating everything of his teacher. Then one fine morning he said, look here, if you want to sing, sing with your own style. Don't copy me, don't imitate me. But you follow mine, but have a creativity or an identity of yourself. So that identity has to be taken to that level. So teacher's personal life is more important, most important. Now, to any teacher who knows the syllabus, textbook or notes is no important at all. Secondly, most important is learn to face the professional rivalry by giving your best performance. Today, some people, even there are some workshops like office politics and other things. But all think professional rivalry, let it be there. But professional rivalry in any seat of learning, there should be more of accommodative. There should be a point where all of us can meet, and the quality circle where it has been created, everybody sits and tries to come to some conclusion that we can think for the betterment of the organization. So friends, I wish to conclude with one more example about, that will be the last example. I think from later on we can have some addition. I wish to give the example of our own community because we as teachers have to have it. There was a couple in Indian Institute of Science in some center. They were more involved in research. And one fine morning at about 9 o'clock, he develops some problem, chest pain. And the wife is also a very highly learned scholar. Wife says, don't go to the laboratory today. Let us go to a doctor and try to have a checkup. And then he said, no, I wish to go. He drives, he goes to the laboratory, calls all his students. And then he said, makes one student to ask her to prepare for coffee. And he gives all finishing lines, finishing touches to all the students regarding. And then he says, I'm sorry, I'm getting some dizziness. I just want to sleep. And he slept in the laboratory on a bench and he breathes his last. In the condolence message, his wife said, my husband was so much interested with the students in research. Till his last breath, he wanted to be in the laboratory, not with the house. Such of the greatest of great persons, we as teachers, India has withstood the test of the time in giving the best of best teachers. Let us try our level best to create a meaning for our own life. Let us not imitate. If everybody wants to be like others, who will be like us? So it is with this preamble, friends. There are many examples or other things. My only exercise is this, intention is this, that in this process of 4 days interaction on a virtual conference, I appreciate the initiative by the organization, especially AICT Atal sponsor 1 week online faculty development program. Development is an index which should reflect a multi-dimensional variables. We use 5 words: change, progress, growth, evolution, revolution, and development. Out of all this, end up is development. We speak of personality development, we never speak of personality change. We speak of personality, rural development, we don't use the word rural change. So let us try to be a better teacher. Let us try to create a vibrant India. Let us try to create an India, an education at a global level to the new century. And more than that, the brand ambassador from our institutions, they are the ones who carry our culture. It is not just a degree. It is not just a certificate. It is not just a marks card that we are or the university is giving. But today, what is the value addition to the marks card? What is the efficiency? What is the honesty? What is the integrity? What are the soft skills which we are going to give to those students are more important. I'm sure that the people who are there on this connectivity, every about 1 year or after 2 semesters or 3 4 semesters, depending upon the curriculum, you give a testimonial a testimonial to the students, and the testimonial speaks, this is to certify that I know so and so, he was honest and all these things. And the student loves and likes more than the convocation certificate about the testimonial being given by the teacher. Whenever he goes for any interview, he shows first the testimonial given by the teacher, because a teacher has personally endorsed that his competency. Though university convocation certificate is there, but yet the personal impression of a teacher is not a recommendation, but it's only a trust. So wish you all the best in your endeavor to create a better tomorrow, a vibrant India, an India that was an educational center, and in the days to come, we can be with the resource, with the intellectual input, guide the entire world. Thank you very much. Thank you very much once again.
For your wonderful session. It was like, raining thoughts. It was like raining thoughts, and the compliments are pouring in from our all participants. They're complimenting like anything. It was a very mesmerizing session and exceptional session, that kind of thing. So if you have any questions, so please put it in the chat box so that sir will take up in a couple of questions. Shall I read out the question?
Yeah. No, I can. The modern culture is to learn through Google, multiple teachers than through a classroom teacher. How can we control them, sir? Sir, with the passage of time, especially the technology, we use a word called technological avalanche, which has totally changed the system of education, not only education, but all sectors. Now, I just want to correlate your question to another. Till yesterday, whenever you used to go to a doctor, could be family doctor, there was a personal touch. He used to hold your hand, feel the pulsation. And today, there is more of disconnectivity. He diagnoses on the report which a machine has given. Could be MRI, could be MRI or an X-ray or a lab investigation. But it does not mean that he is not confident in himself. But the system, that we call it, is a change. In that change, one has to change and not only live with the change, acceptance of the change. Accepting the change without losing our identity has to be maintained. So we say tradition and modernity. Tradition are the traditional values for which Indian education has withstood the time. Modernity is a technological facilitation which has more a helping hand to the students and the teachers. Now, for your question, the human touch, the actual classroom. Now, since we are at a higher level of institution, even now this online class or virtual class or interaction, many teachers, they are not that mentally prepared, they are not adjusted, they are not feeling at home, because they feel that unless and until I have students in front of me, it is not possible for me. Even work from home is something which till yesterday it was debated and everybody had a fancy. But today, that office culture, office ambience, colleagues, going to an office, doing the same work, working from the home is something different. So in the same way, that human touch, one must not. But a Google or a multiple teachers or whatever technology gives, one feather touch, it gives you the information, the data so much that out of that information, out of that responses, out of that replies, out of that suggestions, which one he should choose, again, they need a teacher to tick out of the choices. That's number one. Secondly, anything which you earn or get by sweating is more. Going to a library, seeing some magazines, jotting down notes, preparing a synopsis. If you are doing it for at least 2 days to prepare a paper presentation, you are more perfectionist in that perfection. But if you just go to a technology, download it, cut and paste it, okay, nice. But what is the identity? What is the individuality? It's not a question of controlling them, sir, but it is a system that has to be. In that system, we have to have our own identity. We can't say that stop that technology, stop that process. It will be there, it will be with us. Maybe in the coming days, the modern method of what we call it as online, even from the Montessori's, I think that's going to be there for how many period of time. But anyway, now that mindset has been changed. But the other way of technology, I was seeing, there was an online class for a Montessori or a first standard class where the teacher was teaching and the baby was listening to the lecture on the system, on a mobile. When she was listening, both the parents were there. The parent is doctor, he was a cardiothoracic pediatric surgeon. Mother was an anesthetist. And both of them, in the presence of their daughter, they started criticizing. Oh, what is the accent of the teacher? Grammatically, she is not speaking correctly. Oh, such a that they have paid so much of fees. The standard is very nice, very bad. So suddenly the child switched off and said, if the teacher is not up to the mark of my parents, then how can I learn? So that's why lastly, the doctor gives an suggestion. So let us not be a part in the teaching process on an online with the child, especially younger age, because a teacher, if we remember when we were the students of first standard pre-elementary, how our teacher was teaching. So it's very easy to teach at the highest level, pinnacle, but it's very practically very difficult. So my only answer to all of you to use Mr. Selvakumar is, it's a most relevant question. It's a changing pattern. With the passage of time change, we have to adjust with that. We have to live with that. But yet we have to have our own identity.
Next question also. Any text or reference books would you suggest for further reading?
Suresh Mane, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Suresh Mane, sir, I'm sure that you have asked this question on the present day topic. Okay. Now, for this topic, generally what I personally believe is any text or reference book to prescribe and suggest that if you read this book, you can be better man to find a meaning to your life otherwise. My only suggestion is read certain books which are most popular amongst the intellectuals or intelligentsia, number one. I think if you can see a book, I think you must have seen this book, Mr. Suresh Mane, sir. This is a book, the national bestseller, The Last Lecture by Randy Pausch. If you read these books, as far as teaching is concerned, in university research is concerned, here is the life of a person, a lecturer, how he designed himself, how he started creating a new meaning to his new life because he was diagnosed with a pancreatic cancer. The remaining quantum of time or period, he started living from ABCD. Or you can lead for simple reason, Shiv Khera's book, You Can Win, or Robin Sharma's book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, or any article on education sector, especially in the education supplements like Times of India, Hindu, Indian Express, any paper, even regional languages, Kannada, Telugu, Tamil, Marathi, especially in the onslaught of this new, what we call it, the debate going on the new education policy, present policy. For the last more than a month, every day, alternate day, there is an article. So to find out, you can read those books. And why only suggestion is, read some classical book of your choice. Any choice, any biography or autobiography of your choice. I think once you read, more so an autobiography. Because autobiography reflects the style of the language, his original thinking, and much more than that, how he communicates his vision, his thought to the new reader. Could be My Experiments with Truth, or The Discovery of India by Nehru, or Wings of Fire by APJ Abdul Kalam, or Envisioning New Millennium of India, by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, sir. Now, these are the books, they are more than textbooks. But if you read a review of that particular book in a newspaper, the review encompasses the entire text. That's why my suggestion is try to read the editorials, try to read the book reviews, try to read his profile, try to read some books which are of classical literature. I don't say classical literature, but some. Read books on Radhakrishnan, read books on Dr. Zakir Hussain's lectures, or there is one jurist, Gajendra Gadkar, the judges, Chagla's Roses in December. Or my request to Mr. Suresh Mane is, if you can read the book We the People and We the Nation, written by Nani Palkiwala, a great jurist, you don't need to read about 500 books. If you read one book, that is more than sufficient to encompass 500 people's voice. So try to read beyond syllabus, beyond text. What text have a connectivity with the context. Without context, there is no text. So if you read some other books which have a direct relevance on the text, I think that will enrich me. So no, we can't say that this is the only book which you have to read, like a dogmatic. Here you can read. These are the books on which you can. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Or if you are more like, for example, something about knowing India, something written by Indologist you can read, like Ketkar or Swami Vivekananda, or even for that matter, Art of Living Foundation or Isha Foundation by Sri Jaggi Vasudev sir. There was one time when Osho was on the rise, but his thesis, his philosophy, it was his philosophy. Every individual has a right to express his philosophy, but of late they are. So you can read that, you can have an audio, or the best way is you choose one person whom you consider as a good orator and try to follow him continuously, at least for 1 month. I think that will sensitize you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful and thoughtful session for the last 1 hour, 45 minutes, more than so. I request our participants to take a break and again join us the next session. Again, that will be the similar, I hope and expect, that will be a similar kind of intellectually and spiritually stimulating experience. I request all the participants to log out for the time being and again log in sharp at 2:25